I'm sorry, who'd you say you were?
I am your host, Rich Girard. Thanks for tuning in.
Here's Richard.
Good morning, Manchester, and to those of you in surrounding towns, welcome to Hour 3 of Girard at Large. I am your just can't make this stuff up, really, host, Rich Girard. Thanks for tuning in. You can find us on the web at girardatlarge.com, and you can find us on Facebook and Twitter, also at Girard at Large, where we encourage you to like us and to follow us because we'd just be so lonely without you. Our phone number is 672-0573. That's 672-0573. And joining us now is Robin Stevens. She is one of the proprietors of, say it again?
Classic Amorer.
Classic Amorer. It is a gun shop?
Gun shop, gunsmith. We build the finest weapons and handguns.
There we go.
Okay, thank you.
There you go. Go ahead. So you build weapons as well?
Yes. So
now, is that just modifying existing guns, or do you build them from scratch, so to speak?
Modifying existing. If you have anything that you need to customize, anything that you want to depend your life upon, and you don't want something that's just straight out of the box, you want an accuracy package, or you want a reliability package, then that's something that my husband does. He is a gunsmith, and he has the finest in firearms at the shop.
Excellent. So now you're here this morning, Robin, because I'm not sure all of the details. I don't know if it's a particular neighbor that's causing your business problems, if the town is part of the issue or facilitating the neighbor and its complaints. But apparently there's a long-standing issue here over your gun shop and the firing range that we thought was interesting because, well, let's just say that there are a number of issues in a number of communities that sound like this one. And we thought we'd give it expression so that people in your town would, A, get to hear what was going on, but B, for those who struggle with these issues in other communities can get a feel for how the process might be able to run amok just over the complaint of a neighbor who apparently have some kind of an axe to grind. I don't know any of the story, really. But so why don't you give us a little bit of background on the business, how long it's been there, doing what it's doing, and what problems have evolved recently?
Sure. We have been at our property for 18 years.
That's all?
Our next door neighbor, yes. Our business has been there for 7 years. Our next door neighbor, who actually helped build our shooting area, used our shooting area, trained on it with his wife, had his children grew up with it next to him, all of a sudden 3 years ago decided he didn't like having it next door to him and decided to start with zoning issues, using the town and gunning after us and our business with negative newspaper articles. And
is there any sort of a triggering event? Did you folks have some kind of a falling out? Was there?
Well, we had been friends for many, many years. I mean, these people actually, their children came to our house. When they ran away from home, that's where they came. When their dog ran away from home, that's where he came. They partied at our house. Many of the townspeople, when we have our open house, have seen them at our home. We rode our Harleys together. So what triggered it? I mean, their son needed a letter to get into the Guard. We wrote that letter for him. Mm-hmm. I think what triggered it is that one of the times he came home from the Guard, they were having a party and fireworks were going off. Live rounds and like little cannons were going off on our roof. We had fires on our porch, on our garage where our business was. We were very concerned. We called the police. They came down and we told them we didn't mind the fireworks, just move it to the other side. Don't be shooting fireworks over to our home.
Which housed an armory, basically. Even if it didn't, you still didn't want fireworks on your roof.
Right.
Okay.
You don't want anyone shooting anything with live rounds over on your house.
Right.
That were going off on your house. We didn't want any fires or any destroying of our property. So I think that was the main trigger of this recent rash of zoning issues that he's brought forth. And we're just very, very concerned because he has photographed our clients. He has taken pictures of people. He has been peeping over the fence while we have people on our back deck. It is a total nuisance, and we're just tired of it. And the newest thing now is he has taken up another zoning issue, Article 3.2, which has already been heard. It's been reheard, and it's been denied in the town. And he's using the town. This is tomorrow night at 7:30 at Town Hall.
All right. Before we get there, though, you say he's filed complaints against you with the zoning board.
Correct.
And he started that 3 years ago.
Correct.
Have those complaints, what was the result of the complaints he filed 3 years ago?
They've been all denied, thrown out.
So all of the complaints that he has brought have been heard by the town and have been dismissed by the zoning board.
Correct.
Okay. So if that is the case, then does he continue to bring new or different complaints? Or
Yes, he has. He's actually taking the town to Superior Court on their decisions. So that is ongoing. I'm not privy to that information.
So the Superior Court hasn't ruled yet?
I have no idea. I know they were supposed to be in court in January, the end of January, but again, I'm not participating in that, so I do not have an answer as to what it is.
So at this point, it doesn't seem to me from what you're telling me that the town of Ware has been anything other than forced to respond to the allegations that have been made by your neighbor against your
Correct. The town has been very supportive of us.
Okay.
And I'm sure they're just as fed up with the use of, taxpayers' money to fund a harassment program against us.
Now, you say this fellow is taking pictures of your business's customers as they come and go from the property. Have you notified the police about that?
They're very much aware of it, and that was one of the reasons when a location on 114 came available, a commercial location, we decided to grow our business and move it because of the harassment that our clients were getting.
So the business was being run entirely out of your house until 7 years ago?
Till 3 years. Till 6 months ago.
Till 6 months ago.
Yes.
So now you've moved the business out of the house.
Correct.
What zoning complaints can he continue to file? Is there any part of the business that's still conducted on your residential property?
Absolutely not. We work 6-7 days a week, so our property is still very, very quiet. And to try to put an Article 3.2, which has to do with noise, is insane because what are we doing? Snoring? We come home to sleep.
So now, is it over the do you have a shooting range? Do you have a firing range?
We have, it's not a shooting range. It's not like one of those big ranges where you go. It's not, mechanical. It's just like a backyard. It's a safe backyard shooting area that we have used for 18 years.
Now, is that on your residential property?
On the residential property.
On the residential property. So
it's been there for 18 years.
But that's still at the residential property.
Correct.
That hasn't been moved to the commercial property.
It will not be moved to the commercial property.
Okay,
no.
so it's a backyard range in Ware.
Correct.
Which, from my time in New Boston, I know is not all that unusual to have in towns where you could basically fire a gun at will anywhere you want.
Correct. Well, it's supposed to be 300 feet from your personal property if you're in a congested area.
300 feet from your personal property in Manchester would give you half a dozen buildings. So do you meet all of the zoning requirements for the town?
Absolutely.
So the backyard range meets all of the requirements for the town?
For the state.
For the state.
And was cleared by our previous assistant prosecutor, Todd Privet.
Okay.
So it was totally cleared, and the police have cleared it. We have already been taken care of by all of the chiefs of police.
And this is a vital part of your business because people who buy firearms need to test them, or
it is not used for business at all.
Oh, it's not used for business at all.
It's not used for business at all.
Okay.
It is strictly personal. So my husband and I have very little personal time. As I said, we work 6 to 7 days a week.
But so basically he's complaining that in whatever off time you have, you occasionally go into your backyard and open fire on a target.
Correct.
Uh-huh. And you're saying there's a hearing tomorrow night in front of the Zoning Board of Adjustment based on a complaint filed by this fellow. And you've referenced, what is it, Section 3.2, Article 3.2?
Correct.
What is Article 3.2, and why is it before the Zoning Board of Adjustment if, in fact, all of the zoning issues have been settled by the town and are under appeal by this fellow, your neighbor, to the Superior Court? What is 3.2?
It's noise. It's noise about...
so it's like a noise ordinance.
Yes. Then the town does not have a noise ordinance. So...
Okay.
It would be changing how we can use our backyards. If your kids are yelling or playing in the backyard and it's too noisy, who's going to stop it?
Is this a proposed warrant article for election? What is this?
It is an article, I think you have...
Yeah.
Right
now, keep in mind, I'm a
it.
city kid, so I know how things like this work in the city. But when it gets out into the towns, I don't have a clue, especially since every time I look, every town does something different.
Right.
So what exactly is before the zoning board tomorrow?
Is to quiet the percussion or the noise coming from the range. And of course, we're not
if there
in
is
that backyard shooting area.
Well,
we work 6-7 days a week, so the noise level at our property is very low.
Well, what
I think he's just doing this as a harassment and continual to, keep on us.
Right, but I guess what I don't understand is if there is no noise ordinance in the town, what is he bringing before the zoning board to try to get you to stop shooting?
Well, it says right here that he wants us to stop shooting out our property.
Right. But what is Article 3.2? I don't know what that means. Can you help me with that? What is Article 3.2? Is this...
It's it has to do with continual noise. Noise, percussion, noise, dangerous fumes.
Is this part of your zoning ordinance?
Yes.
Okay, so this is part of your zoning ordinance. It's Article 3.2 of the zoning ordinance. And if I'm reading the agenda item, it says, if I'm understanding correctly, your town zoning and building officials have said that using your outdoor range is okay.
Correct.
And he's saying that it's not okay under Article 3.2 of the zoning ordinance, and he is appealing the decision to allow you to do the range.
Correct.
So what is the practical impact on the town itself if he wins this? I have to imagine in the town of Ware, which square footage-wise is a really big town, and from what I know of the people who live there, there are an awful lot of folks like you who don't think twice about, capping a few targets in their backyard. Mm-hmm. If this ruling comes down against you, what does that mean for the rest of the town?
Well, if they enforce it against us, it's discriminatory. But this is
that's assuming that they make it. But
right.
if they make it,
the situation is that there is no noise ordinance. That people do use their land. This is going to impact hunters. This is going to impact people who go hunting in their own property and the use of their own property. This is. What about your neighbor who spends his day driving his John Deere around for 6 to 8 hours taking care of his lawn? Is that noise excessive? If somebody is cutting down trees or building a home, or is that noise excessive? What is excessive noise? What is nuisance? We spend maybe an hour and a half a week on keeping up our chops on our shooting area. Mm-hmm. We're very quiet. Our next door neighbor on the other side has never had a problem or an issue with noise level in 18 years. So it's just one person who has rallied a couple of his friends in the neighborhood who are trying to keep us out of business and put us out of business. Every time we are on that range, there is a phone call made to 911.
Every time?
Every time. He is yelling and screaming that,
Well, how do you know he's yelling and screaming?
Because we can hear him. Okay. I mean, he's literally, has a huge bolsterous voice, and he's screaming into the phone. He doesn't want the Ware PD, send the state police, send the sheriffs. He's making statements that the Ware police...
How many times have the Ware police responded to your house for these 911 calls?
I can't even tell you how many times. It's numerous, probably 20 times, wasting our time.
If that's the case, why haven't the Ware Police Department, there's sort of a sad story in Hooksett where this 65 or 60-some-odd-year-old woman keeps getting drunk and keeps dialing 911. either because she's lonely or they wanted a pen. And Hooksett PD has taken her each time and brought her up to Merrimack County Jail and charged her with what amounts to abuse, misuse of 911. Why haven't the Ware cops picked this guy up if he's really making those 911 calls for non-emergency situations?
I'd like to know the answer to that, but I believe it's because the police department is so has gone through so many changes in the short past time that I think that has a lot to do with it. I think they don't want to make waves. I think the police department really tries to mediate as opposed to dealing with some of the issues. But with the situation of abusing 911 is a serious issue, and I think that needs to be addressed. I know they have spoken with him about it. As to what they plan to do about it or how they're going to go forward with it is really up to the police department.
Okay. So in the meantime, what continues to happen? I mean, have you spoken with the police or have you spoken with an attorney about
we have
the what you consider to be harassing? I mean, I don't know if he's taking photographs of everyone who comes in and out of my business, I would consider that stalking.
It is.
Have you considered filing charges yourself?
We have considered it, but we need to be above it. We have a business in town, and we really do not want to have to deal with this. We hope that this gentleman could get help for his obsession with us, and we pray every day that he will get well.
So do you know the status of the Superior Court case that someone dropped off for me this morning while I was writing the news and didn't have a chance to look at?
I do not know because the town has not made us privy to any of that information. It's
So now I don't know how your zoning board of adjustment works, but typically when there are items there, they hear from the abutters and the petitioning property. So is this the kind of thing where they will take testimony just from the abutters and the petitioning property, or anyone in town worried about the interpretation of Article 3.2 of the zoning ordinance is one that would preclude the use of firearms outdoors? Will they be allowed to show up and speak at the zoning board hearing tomorrow night at Town Hall at 7:30?
I believe they would be able to. They have opened it up to the floor and to everybody else. Once abutters have had their time to speak. So I do hope that we could get some support and see our neighbors and friends there. Okay.
And just on a different note, if people want to learn more about the business that you and your husband are in, how can they do that? You have a website or something like that?
We do, www.classicamorer.com.
Classic Amorer. ARMORER, classicamorer.com.
And we're at 613 South Stark Highway.
Okay, 613 South Stark Highway. For those of us unfamiliar with the town of Ware who might want to bring our firearms out there and maybe, I don't know, have them cleaned or something to show our support, how would we do that?
You can just stop in. We're open.
Yeah, but where is South Stark Highway?
114, Route
that's
114,
that's Route
right
114.
through that is
okay.
Route 114 through town. They can also give us a call at 603-529-4557.
529-4557. Okay, and you would like to encourage folks in the town of Ware who are concerned about the possible interpretation of this noise thing under Article 3.2 to show up and make it known that firing one's guns in their backyard in accordance with the law is not something the zoning ordinance should be used to prevent.
Correct. Thank you.
All right. Well, Robin Stevens from Classic Amorer in Ware, we're sorry to hear of your neighbor troubles, but we appreciate your sharing them with us because the resolution sought by your neighbor could have a dramatic impact on everybody in town on a whole variety of unforeseen consequences. And we think it's important to notify folks in Ware of that, and also to let people know throughout the towns that, if your cops keep showing up to bogus 911 calls, maybe you ought to demand that they pick up the guy who's making them.